High above the endless blanket of Siberian evergreens, a small helicopter shuddered in the cold, sharp winds. Its blades cut through the frosty air like a dull knife, relentless, determined. Deep inside, geologist Anya Smirnov felt an unsettling weight pressing on her heart. She could see the famous Patomskiy crater in the distance, a mysterious indentation on the forest-covered slope. Chills ran down her spine. Would this hidden place reveal answers, or only more questions? But before we start our story, smash the like button, make sure to subscribe, and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. She glanced at her companions. Dr. Petrov, a renowned geophysicist with tired eyes, and Mikhail, a local guide who claimed to have seen strange lights near the crater at night. Their expressions were tense. They had studied the crater from countless articles, from old records of Russian explorer Vadim Kolpakov, who first found this bizarre formation in 1949. But being here in person felt different. It was more real, more terrifying. Suddenly, the helicopter's pilot shouted, "We're descending! Hold on!" The wind tossed them like a leaf in a storm. Anya's stomach flipped. She clutched the armrest. Was this a bad omen? They landed in a small clearing. The rotor blades whirred, scattering fresh snow, creating a swirling white halo. Each member of the team hopped onto the crunchy ground and adjusted to the freezing temperature. Nearby, the tops of ancient larch trees swayed, as if warning them. Could the forest sense their presence? This could change everything, Dr. Petrov murmured, scanning the distance. His gaze halted on the slope ahead, where a towering cone-shaped mound loomed. A swirl of fog covered its peak, making it appear as though the entire crater was crowned in cloud. Anya forced a smile. "We have to see what's in there," she said, her breath escaping in puffs of steam. She tried to sound brave, but inside, she was uneasy. Was the crater waiting for them to discover secrets better left buried? They trudged forward through the snowy forest. Mikhail led the way, carrying an old hunting rifle slung over his shoulder. "Don't worry," he whispered. "Wolves fear the noise of people." Yet his own voice trembled. Was he convinced, or was he trying to convince himself? For a moment, all they could hear was the crunch of boots on snow and the low moan of the winter wind. Trees seemed to close in around them, like silent sentinels guarding an ancient secret. Every so often, Anya thought she saw shadows flickering between the branches. She swallowed hard. Was it just her imagination? They soon came upon the crater, an eerie cone about 40 meters high. Its presence was overwhelming, almost alive. Layers of crushed gray limestone formed a hill, hollow at the center, like some massive nest. Locals called it the Fire Eagle Nest, and Anya could see why. It felt as if some mythical beast had created this haunting dome for its own personal roost. Chills prickled along her skin. "Shall we climb to the top?" Dr. Petrov asked. It wasn't really a question. Despite the reluctance in their hearts, they had to proceed. They'd come all this way in search of the truth. But what if the truth was too horrifying to face? With each step upward, the slope grew steeper, forcing them to grasp at jagged rocks. The ground was oddly warm in places, sending ripples of shock through Anya's fingertips. She remembered the old stories. Some scientists thought this was a volcanic formation, the result of methane gas emissions. Others whispered about radiation and a hidden alien craft. Was there truly something big slumbering beneath their feet? At times, Mikhail paused to examine clusters of larch trees twisted in strange shapes. He shook his head. "Trees around here grow fast," he murmured. "The old folks say that's because of radiation." His voice quivered with both fear and awe. Could it be true? Near the crater's rim, the team stopped to catch their breath. Dr. Petrov took readings on a small device. Suddenly, the screen flickered wildly. "Electromagnetic spikes?" he muttered in disbelief. He rubbed his eyes and checked again. The numbers soared. He was shocked. This can't be right. Anya hovered over his shoulder. Her heart pounded. Was this evidence of a meteorite? Or maybe something else, something far more extraordinary? They ascended the last ridge and reached the flat top of the crater. The wind picked up, howling across the funnel-like pit at the center. Anya and Dr. Petrov peered into that hollow, swirling with fog. It felt like staring into the eye of some enormous beast, silent yet menacing. A sense of foreboding tightened around them. "We're standing on something big," Anya whispered. The freezing air nipped at her cheeks. Her breath caught in her throat. She couldn't quite form the words, but she sensed a dormant power beneath them. Could it really be an alien spaceship? Mikhail inched closer, rifle in hand, though it offered no comfort here. The roar of the wind made it difficult to talk. He cupped his hand around his mouth and shouted, "We need to climb down inside. That's the only way to be sure." Dr. Petrov gave a single nod. "Yes, but carefully. One misstep and we could slip." His expression revealed more than he intended. He was terrified, but his curiosity overpowered his fear. They began their descent into the funnel. The ground felt oddly soft underfoot, almost sandy. A thin layer of snow revealed traces of heat from below. Every so often, Mikhail would pause and listen, as if trying to hear what lurked under the crust. Was there a faint hum? Was it just the wind? Anya couldn't shake the sense that they were being watched. She kept turning around, searching the rim of the crater. She saw nothing but swirling fog. Yet the sensation persisted, sending chills racing down her arms. Was it paranoia or something real? Halfway down, Dr. Petrov's device pinged again with static-like beeps. The electromagnetic readings surged higher. A wave of excitement and dread swept over the team. "This could change everything," Anya said through chattering teeth. She pressed a gloved hand against the crater's cold, rocky wall. She felt a steady thrum, like a heartbeat. Mikhail's eyes widened. "What if we're on top of a UFO?" He tried to laugh, but his voice broke. "The stories say there's something metallic buried down here." Anya met his gaze. She didn't have answers, only a deep sense of unease. They set up a makeshift camp inside the crater's bowl, sheltered by a jagged outcrop. Anya and Dr. Petrov immediately began collecting samples of the limestone, labeling them with trembling hands. Around them, the temperature seemed to rise. It was warmer here than outside. That alone was unsettling. Was the heat a clue of volcanic activity or something else? As night fell, a strange hush settled over the crater. The swirling fog turned to a ghostly pale glow under the moonlight. The three huddled in their tent, flashlights flickering. Sleep was impossible. Anya lay awake, listening to the wind's hollow moan. She kept replaying the day's events in her mind. Why were the electromagnetic readings off the charts? She recalled the local legends. Some said the crater was formed by a fireball from the skies. Others insisted it was a place of spirits, cursed with dark energy. Now, staring into the shadows, she wondered if the crater itself was alive, waiting. Around midnight, Dr. Petrov unzipped the tent in a hurry. "I can't ignore this, Anya," he said. "I'm picking up a concentrated signal from beneath the crater. It's localized about 8 to 16 meters down. There's something metallic." His eyes shone with a crazed excitement. Anya's heart pounded. "We can't drill here in the middle of the night. This is too dangerous." But part of her yearned to see what they might find. She sat up, a flurry of nervous energy in her veins. Could this truly be a crashed alien ship? Mikhail stirred awake. He rubbed his eyes and reached for his rifle. "I've never seen you look like this, Petrov. You're terrified, but also, you look like you found gold." He paused. "Should we attempt it?" A sudden gust rattled the tent, plunging them into silence. Was nature warning them to stop, or urging them onward? By dawn, after a restless few hours, they agreed to take a small step, dig a narrow test pit and measure the soil composition. If radiation was present, they would retreat immediately. Their hands shook as they set up the portable drill. The whir of its motor echoed across the crater. With every foot drilled, the electromagnetic meter beeped more wildly. The tension was unbearable. When the drill reached about 10 meters deep, a loud clang reverberated through the crater. Metal. Anya's eyes went wide. She gasped, her breath turning to a puff of white in the crisp morning air. "We hit something," she whispered. "We really did." Dr. Petrov knelt, his trembling hands gripping the drill. "This is insane," he muttered, scanning the silvery residue clinging to the bit. Could it be metal? The reading spiked, emitting a high-pitched beep that unsettled the team. "This isn't just rock," Mikhail said, his rifle in hand, eyes scanning the horizon. "It feels alive." Anya's heart pounded as she stared into the shadowy crater. "This could change everything," she whispered, torn between fear and curiosity. Suddenly, a tremor shook the ground. Rocks tumbled into the pit, and the team struggled to maintain their footing. "Everyone out!" Mikhail shouted. They scrambled to safety, collapsing at the rim, breathless and shaken. From above, the crater looked eerily alive, like a dormant beast stirred from slumber. "We need to report this," Anya said, her voice unsteady. Dr. Petrov hesitated. "This discovery is monumental, but I fear we've unleashed something beyond our control." As the helicopter ascended, the crater faded behind dense snow and firs, leaving them with a swirl of questions. Was it a rare geological anomaly? A metallic structure buried for eons? Anya's thoughts turned to ancient folk tales of cosmic visitors. The data confirmed metal, and the strange electromagnetic readings hinted at the extraordinary. Yet, the tremor and the eerie silence defied explanation. Dr. Petrov broke the tense quiet. "This is bigger than us. The world will want answers, but are we ready for the truth?" Anya leaned against the cold window, the crater's rhythmic pulse still echoing in her bones. Her final thought lingered. Had they disturbed something that should have stayed buried?